On today's episode, we are going to take a look at one of my favorite stocks out right now, and that is GameStop. Just kidding, just kidding. Today, we are not taking a look at GameStop. We're going to take a look at Microsoft. They just reported earnings, and the stock price is up a nice amount. So I wanted to do a quick overview on their earnings. So let's get started. If this is your first time here, make sure to hit the thumbs up and the subscribe button, and don't forget to get your free stock on Webull. The link is down below. So like I mentioned, today we're going to take a look at Microsoft. They just reported earnings, and Microsoft is a boring company, I want to say, that I've been talking about a lot in this channel. This is a tier 1 stock for me, and to be honest, most of my tier 1s are usually smaller companies. So Microsoft, I think, is the biggest tier 1 stock in my portfolio, and I'm really happy to own it. So today, let's do a little closer look at their earnings. All right, so for those that are too busy looking at GameStop right now after hours, after Elon Musk made that tweet, well, let me just show you what's happening with Microsoft. So this is ticker MSFT. For those that don't know, after hours is sitting at $242 with up 4.16% after reporting earnings. It's been going up and down. I've seen a bit about 5-6% and it's down as about 2% gains. So you can see it has been a bit volatile after hours. So the market cap is about $1.76 trillion. And now with this gain, it'll probably be closer to like 1.8, 1.9. If we take a quick look at technicals for Microsoft, this is pretty interesting. I've been saying this about a lot of large cap companies that they've been pretty quiet since either July, September. We can see Microsoft has been pretty quiet. It has been very volatile, going up and down, but it's pretty much just been sitting around these prices of these low $200. Today was the first time we saw it actually break out of this ceiling that it had, and now after hours it actually broke above it. So we've seen this with, I forgot what was the other big company, Netflix. Netflix, if we take a look at it, was kind of trading similar way. So Netflix, right, had this kind of trend happening, and then it broke out. It actually pulled back a little bit, but a lot of these big giants have actually been pretty quiet, and after earnings have reported, they've jumped up and gapped up a nice amount. And tomorrow we have Apple. We'll see if that trend continues. So for those that don't know, Microsoft is pretty much broken down into 3 segments, and revenue is almost equally spread out among the 3. So revenue this quarter was about $43.1 billion for Microsoft. That was up 17% compared to the same time last year. So the first one was productivity and business process. That makes up $13.4 billion, and that was up 13%. One of the biggest winners right now was the intelligent cloud, which was 14.6%. And that is up 23% compared to the same time last year. Strong growth there. And this is, I believe, the last two, this on intelligent cloud and more personal computing. More personal computing is $15.1 billion, and that's up 14%. In the previous quarter, we saw that both Microsoft and analysts are kind of not bearish, but not as bullish in the intelligent cloud or in the personal computing. They mentioned that they were going to kind of see a bit of not as high growth. And this quarter they came out and they showed that they are still seeing strong growth in intelligent clouds and still seeing strong growth in the more personal computing. And these, I want to say, are the 2 major reasons the stock price is up after hours. Gross margins for this company is about 67%. Operating income for this company is 42%. That's earnings before interest and taxes of 42% for such a big company. I think it's very, very impressive. Net income is $15.5 billion, and that is up 33% compared to the same time last year. A few highlights about earnings. They did mention that they gave about $10 billion back to shareholders, up 18% compared to the same time last year. They did about $5.8 billion in repurchase of shares. They also did about $4.2 billion in dividend. To me, I mean, one of the biggest things I talk about in this channel is I'm a huge advocate for cash flow from operations, and Microsoft is one of those that just pretty much prints out cash. Cash flow from operations is $12.5 billion. That is up 17%. And a huge portion is up because of the amount of cash that they get from their clouding business. They have free cash flow of about $8.3 billion. That's after they pay everything for their new equipment or new advancements that they want to do for the company. So now if we take a look at the revenue segment, I personally am more bullish in the intelligent cloud and the more personal computing. The productivity and business process is also pretty fun, but I do believe the intelligent cloud and personal computing are my favorite. So in the productivity and business process, the revenue there grew about 13% compared to the same time last year. It was mainly driven by the Office 365 and LinkedIn. Office 365 grew their subscribers 28% compared to the same time last year. Now they have about 47.5 million subscribers. LinkedIn revenue grew about 23% compared to the same time last year. More people are using LinkedIn right now, and their overall engagement grew about 30% compared to the same time last year. So LinkedIn is becoming a place where there's a lot more eyes. When there's more eyes there, there's a lot more advertisement. More advertisement there comes with more revenues. They also have the dynamic side there that grew about 21% compared to the same time last year. And Dynamic 365 revenue grew 39% compared to the same time last year. For those that are not familiar with their dynamic service is their CRM, so it's like their customers relations management, and also their ERP products. So these are pretty much products that companies use to kind of understand how their enterprise is doing, how their customers are reacting to their products. Now, if we take a look at Intelligent Cloud is up 23%, mainly huge growth by Azure here. Azure was the biggest driving force here. So server products and cloud service revenue grew 26%. This makes me very bullish because I'm happy with AMD, I'm happy with NVIDIA, I'm happy with all these clouding stocks or infrastructure as a service that those companies provide. And if we're seeing boost in clouding servers, I do believe we're also going to see a boost in those companies that provide the equipment for them. Azure grew 50% compared to the same time last year. And this is where analysts believe this was going to be a huge drop for the company. They expected about 40, I think it was like in the low 40% growth on Azure, but we can see it's actually 50%. And down here, they show us the growth that it has seen in the past quarter. In quarter one of 2021, which was the previous quarter, it grew 48%. The quarter before that was 47%. And a lot of people were saying that, hey, these were during the COVID situations. So cloud growth was going to be very strong there. And now this quarter two of 2021, we've seen a lot more people ease up on lockdowns, going back to work, that we were going to see a decrease in clouding. But no, we actually saw stronger growth compared to those previous quarters. And that to me is showing that this bullishness of intelligent cloud is not just it's not a COVID play, right? It's a play for the future. And I believe in that and will continue to invest in the clouding market. Next, if we take a look at more personal computing, we see strong growth. Windows OEM non-pro revenue is up 24%. Windows commercial products are up 10%. The Surface revenue is about $2 billion right now, where same time last year was about $1.97 billion. The biggest growth right now is coming from the gaming department. So this quarter, gaming grew, Xbox content and service revenue grew 40% compared to the same time last year. A quarter ago, it was also pretty strong, growing 30%. And when this whole COVID situation started, obviously more people were playing games. It saw 65% growth. And right now, one of the biggest driving forces are the overall new gaming system that they have and just more people playing games right now. This total more personal revenue, like I mentioned, grew 14%, and it was driven mainly by gaming. Another thing that investors or analysts were worried about was that this gaming with the new consoles usually have very, very low margins. So analysts expected the these new consoles to really affect the margins of the company, but it hasn't affected as much as they thought it would. So we can see here, the segment operating margins narrowed to about 35% from 40% following the introduction of two Xbox video game consoles. Analysts originally thought that the margins were going to drop all the way to 26%. So even with the new consoles coming out and those having very lower margins, the overall margins in the gaming segment has not really been affected. So in this most recent quarter, Xbox hardware revenue grew 86%, and I'm pretty sure most of it has to do with the constraints on the on inventory right now, right? We're seeing them sold out anywhere. So it's not like people are not buying it, it's just they don't have enough to supply the people that want it. Xbox content services grew 40% compared to same time last year, mainly driven by third-party titles, but also by the Xbox Game Pass subscription. For those that don't know, this Xbox Game Pass subscription is their Netflix type of thing for video games, and it has done really amazing. And I see a lot of people talking great news about this segment. Normally, I do take some time to look at the balance sheet, but Microsoft, we mentioned, has strong positive cash flow from operations. They have about $132 billion of cash, $132 billion of total cash or cash equivalents, and the amount of long-term debt that they have is not even half of that. They actually have unearned revenues of about $30 billion. This is money that's gonna end up, once they provide the service, is going to end up in that assets. It's going to be taken off as a liability. So Microsoft, strong cash flow from operations, strong margins. This company is just growing all around for such a giant and will stay a tier 1 stock in my portfolio. Now let's take a look at this tweet by Investing City. And they mentioned assuming a 12% growth next year, which is very possible for Microsoft, right? This quarter, they saw 17%. So I do believe they can achieve 12% growth next year. And they achieve 42% earnings before interest and taxes margins, which is exactly what they reported now. Obviously, if they have more clouding service revenue next year, their margins are going to increase. Obviously, they're going to be selling less consoles, so their margins are also going to increase. Microsoft is trading at 23 times 1 year forward earnings before interest and taxes. That is what it's actually trading right now. So the market is roughly the same. So even though the stock price has jumped up 4%, it's actually selling at the same type of valuation if we take a look at the forward earnings before interest and taxes. And that to me makes me pretty excited about the company. So now my thoughts on Microsoft right now. So Microsoft for me will maintain a tier 1 stock in my portfolio. That means in this upcoming year of 2021, I'm going to continue to buy, increase my overall exposure of the company. I have no thoughts whatsoever, none whatsoever, of selling Microsoft. What I am kind of debating myself is if tomorrow I should increase my exposure a little bit more onto Microsoft, just because I do have a bit of cash at hand right now that's kind of just sitting and not doing anything. And even with this type of growth and the future type of valuation, it's pretty much sitting at the similar type of market cap level. So that's my debate right now. Let me know what your thoughts are. Are you guys planning on buying? Are you guys planning on selling? And let me say, I don't think there's a right answer. It's just all depending on the type of investor, the type of trader that you are. For me, I'm going to continue to hold. I'm going to continue to buy. So make sure to subscribe. Make sure to hit the thumbs up. So take care, guys. Have a good night and see you next time.